Over my years, I have been lucky enough to indulge in an endless amount of varying stories, spanning across a multitude of different mediums. Each one of these mediums has their own valued lens that separates them from one another, allowing for similar to unique narratives to be viewed from different perspectives, different artistic approaches, a different utilization of literature concepts and elements. The list goes on. Within this branching structure, some specific journeys evolve into memorable, life-changing, emotional, or mentally satisfying experiences, the ones that stand out above the rest, the ones that tend to lean into your personal favorites of all time because of it. Personally, I only have a small handful of series that would fit that moniker, an experience like no other. But as of recently, a small 21 chapter manhwa would effortlessly place itself within there. It would mold around that moniker. The story told and the journey taken would truly embody those words and even empower them further. This series would be known as The Horizon. This experience that The Horizon gives is none other than a masterpiece for me. Something brutally raw and authentic, something deeply tragic and emotionally heartbreaking, a suffocating atmosphere overfilled with despair but accompanied by a tiny glint of hope to continue pushing forward. The foundation that produces these types of responses is built using different layers of war, the death of innocent civilians caught between fighting, the lawless land it creates filled with anarchy, the dark desire it brings out of humans, allowing them to commit atrocious things. But one of, if not the most difficult thing to swallow that the Horizon promises to give you, is all of this experienced through the perspective of a young child. The horrors that this child sees that no one ever should, having his innocence gruesomely ripped away from him, and how it drastically disrupts and distorts not only his emotions, but his functioning mentality. For this child to say it would be better if he took his own life is something that can break anyone. It's something that can hurt you so deeply to your soul that everything this child has witnessed is swirling around inside of him, eating away his life and rotting him to his core, where the realm of death seems like a happier option. The Horizon is a desperate, struggling attempt to continue walking forward, hoping by the end of that road some sort of hope and life would be obtainable. That road, however, is not empty, and the journey is not short. It is filled with relentless horrors ready to drag you down in every way imaginable, where one wrong step or unwarranted comfort will get you killed. This child, or should I say boy, however, is likely not alone. He's accompanied by a young girl around his age that too has experienced the same things. They both walk on the same endless road, joining hands to hopefully find life by the end of it. It's important to recognize that The Horizon focuses on the direct and lingering effects of war, and how that layer suffocates its civilians and captures them trying to survive. We open up the narrative with one of the most disturbing but powerful pieces to not only completely showcase what this journey is about, but also how inherently dark it will truly be. A main character is simply known as Boy, who is nameless throughout the entirety of the story, alongside every other character that is met, which is used as a simple but impactful concept that reflects the idea that this very situation could happen to any individual at any age. So instead of tying a name to it, making it a more personal experience, it's instead a shared experience that everyone will suffer through, which is evidently caused by the product and effects of warfare. We open up to the boy being hidden away by his mother, as gunfire and men approach closer, people screaming and running in every direction. Because of this quick thinking from her, the boy is saved from the horrors that would take place right outside the hiding hole, as massive gunfire would bring an end to all the innocent civilians trying to flee. The boy would emerge from hiding only to find a field of innocent bodies completely covering the ground as he walks through the devastation and death laid out in front of him, hoping to find his mother alive. Unfortunately, this is a war story, as the boy finds his mother dead on the ground. In shock and emotionally broken, he subconsciously tries to put her head back together. Continuously trying and failing to do so, his mother was already gone. But his desperate hope to put her broken body back together lingered on, unable to accept her death. After some time has passed, a moment of realization sets in for the boy as he reflects on the meaning of life, its worth, his own tragedy, the loss of his mother, and the gruesome destruction brought upon by war. Warped and completely hollowed by this experience, the boy stands up and does the only thing he can do. He walks, and he continues to walk, with no purpose, no destination, no desire. He just endlessly walks. Whatever dangerous things may come his way while walking, he has no care for. He may run out of water or food. He may be captured or even horrendously killed. Yet nothing fazed the boy. He was an empty shell that had his whole life and world ripped away from him, enough to make him question the meaning of that said life and its overall worth. Until a lonely night on an abandoned bus, where the boy lays his head to rest, contemplating taking his own life, he meets someone that would slowly fill that gaping hole ripped through him, someone that would emotionally fill him with confidence, with support, even with love. A girl around his age, who too has experienced the tragedies of war and witnessed the people she loved die one by one. Together, they would find comfort from one another, and over time give reason for both of them to live and potentially even strive for something better, continuing walking forward at whatever the cost. When it comes to their journey, the people they meet along the way, combined with the moody atmosphere baked within, creates a short but enthralling experience that has you on the edge of your seat, just waiting for something to go wrong. You know the stakes. You know this is a war-torn place filled with malicious and dangerous people, and that these two young children have no sort of protection for themselves, only each other and their shared wits. Learning how to trust is only one of the many meaningful themes that's pushed across rather heavily, as the boy and the girl learn to trust each other, as they learn to understand one another, and slowly open up mentally and emotionally. Never about the horrors they faced, but honestly, who can blame them? Along their walk, they would come across two specific individuals that would challenge things deep within themselves, learning how to trust them but also be cautious at the same time. But it also reflects the smaller but just as dangerous effect of war-torn countries and where it leaves civilians to rot and survive on their own. It gives us a small understanding on where these people come from, how they are currently surviving, and how the war has affected them. Seeing vicious people taking advantage to whatever extent, people claiming corrupt justice in their hands and fighting back. People delusional and lost without any purpose. Every person, story, journey, and result is different. Every person has an altering perspective, but most align on a similar thing. They just want to survive. These are only some of the hardest things both the children have to face as they progress further in hopes of finding a better place, finding a future they can be happy with, finding peace in such an unrelentless dark time. There are definitely no punches held back. Everything is either a slap in the face or a direct jab to your emotions and stomach, as yourself desperately grasps onto the idea that just maybe these children will make it out alive and find the happiness they deserve. The atmosphere never gives you a moment to breathe, rarely changes in its mood. It's a constant reminder of death and suffering with every corner you turn, with the children being at the center, growing and shining all too bright within such an empty space, which all in all raises your anxiety towards their unfolding future. As much as we focus completely on both children, even getting a hard to swallow backstory on how the girl ended up where she was before meeting the boy, the direct development surrounding them is subtle and slow. Instead, the narrative focuses on pushing them through growth and emotionally understanding their situations further, eventually confiding within one another. The usage of text and spoken conversation between them is extremely minimalistic, going for a more atmospheric driving force mixed with self-internalized dialogue. On one hand, the boy is emotionally scarred and distorted from witnessing the events unfold in front of his eyes, so the girl is showcased in a way that connects us to him and shows his vulnerability through her. The other hand is the girl bringing a more sympathetic and progressive mindset to the people she meets, being rather understanding, something the boy doesn't have due to his experiences. They both revolve around each other, bringing a different perspective they have lost due to the disturbing nature of the world they are within. This only grows further over time between them as they face more dangerous things and learn to even love and respect one another, as each of their struggling past backs their progressive, hopeful future together, as both their goals slowly intertwine into one. I don't want to spoil the ending or its climatic section in detail, but my personal experience with it was something beyond heartbreaking. I was in disbelief. It genuinely made me sick to my stomach seeing how things abruptly unfolded in a matter of seconds, reminding you harshly that the dangers of war doesn't just end in a couple of days, and that its reach bleeds onto the parts of places you would never expect. I shed tears for the events that transpired, seeing everything crumble and fall to pieces in probably the worst way you can imagine, especially after being misdirected down a momentarily hopeful and beautiful road. One that by the end you wish you could go back to, one that you wish could be experienced, even if it was in the slightest. Undoubtedly, the Horizon will give you an emotional journey that directly shows you the brutality of war and the rotting effects it has on the innocent people involved through the eyes of children. How they come to survive by themselves but also with each other. How they grow and seek out a future they can be happy with. The road they walk along is unknown, but the hope they both have to drive them forward and reach its ending is beautifully burning. A hope for a place that they can be safe and eventually call home. To bring this video to a conclusion, all I can say is that I would beyond recommend this for everyone to read. I completely understand if it's not your cup of tea, or you don't want to be sad or depressed by the end of it, but if it does sound up your alley, please do. The Horizon has easily burned itself into my memory as one of the most suffocating, emotionally taxing, but beautifully crafted stories that can't be compared to anything else. For me, it truly is a masterpiece, and deserves that title of being an experience like no other, something that I will always remember. So if you have read it, or if it sounds like something you may check out, let me know how you feel. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts about it. But I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Drink plenty of water, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.